I got fired from my job today because someone publicly doxed me. And it was so bad that even my coworkers were getting harassed just for answering the phone.
That was Kim. Kim is a content creator who uses her platform to share her perspectives and thoughts on politics and current events. She was just fired from her job because of her opinion regarding Charlie Kirk. This is the current reality for many Americans right now in this country. People are losing their jobs because they've expressed how they felt about the life and death of Charlie Kirk, a conservative podcaster who was recently killed. This podcast is not going to be about Charlie Kirk, by the way. We're talking about something much different. We're talking about what happened to that young lady and what's happening to a lot of Americans right now. Doxxing. It's really important that we talk about it and we understand it. Hi, friend. Welcome back to Built to Grow. My name is Valdet Selimaj. I'm your host. I'm also a coach, facilitator, and consultant, and I'm founder of DevCore Consulting, your one-stop shop for all things personal and professional development. And one of those things that DevCore offers is this podcast, Built to Grow. This podcast is all about putting tools in your tool belt to help you grow personally and professionally. But this podcast is also more than that. This podcast is also about character. Character is how you choose to show up for yourself and for others. And for me, this work, my work, is all about living within integrity of my values. And I do not separate my character and my values from my work. This podcast is also a place for me to share with you what I think about things, my perspective, and this is my platform to really just express those things. Because when we think about personal development and professional development, we also have to talk about current events. We have to talk about the political climate that we're in right now, because all of those things are impacting our personal lives and our professional lives. So there is no separation of current events with development. And this episode is really focused on how do we navigate the current environment as professionals, as people, because there are some hardships and some challenges that have come up that are unprecedented for some people, and we need to talk about it. And so today we're going to talk about doxing. That's the primary thing that's front and center for everyone right now. So we're going to specifically talk about what is doxing, why is doxing happening, why is it happening, how to protect yourself, and then what to do when you have been doxed. All right. So again, doxing is not new. Doxing's actually been around. I think the term came around like something in the 1990s. But as we move into a more digital age and more information's online, doxing is becoming a real threat because people are moving to access that information and use it against us. And I want to raise awareness around that. It's especially a concern right now. So doxing is not limited to any one group, but in this current state in our political climate, with the murder of Charlie Kirk and the president quickly blaming Democrats and liberals and villainizing those groups, there has been a war waged on anybody who is Democrat, liberal, anybody who posts anything about Charlie Kirk are now becoming the victims of doxing. And so we have to talk about like what that is. But that's the challenge right now. It's if you are left-leaning or perceived left-leaning or say anything that people disagree with. So MAGA, conservatives, they're the ones, the Charlie Kirk fans, followers, Trump supporters, they're the ones doing the doxing against liberals and Democrats. So unfortunately, this has become a political issue that's impacting professional lives. And that's why we're here. We have to talk about it. So let's talk about what is doxing first. Doxing, just by definition, it's the act of publicly sharing someone's public or private information like home address, telephone number, place of employment, usually without their consent and with negative intent, with negative intentions. So for instance, when Charlie Kirk was murdered, the next day, a website sprung up called charliesmurderers.com. And the website, whoever built the website, was using that website to take people's public and private information. Places of employment was the number one. They were taking screenshots of people's posts And then they actually posted that on that website so that people could call those people's employers to report them. That's right. They're to actually report them so they would lose their jobs. The website eventually got taken down because it is illegal to dox in many ways, in many states. But also I did some investigative reporting that weekend, and I learned that, so there was charliesmurderers.com that got taken down. And then there was charliekirkdata.org. And that was all, it was the same website. Just when the first one got shut down, it moved to a second website. But I did some digging and I found out who owns like the registrar, where the websites are hosted and where the domains came from. So I want to share this because I thought it was very interesting stuff. I learned that there's some registrars. So Withheld for Privacy is a registrar that is located in Iceland, and they hosted the Charlie's Murderers website. And then there was another one called Epic LLC, which hosted the charliekirkdata.org website. But both websites are, both registrars, especially Withheld for Privacy in Iceland, according to the New York Times, are associated with the world's shadiest websites. These registrars, Epic and Withheld for Privacy, actually are associated with white supremacist groups that spread misinformation, and they go to those registrars because it's the only place they can get away with it. So that should tell you a little bit about like who is creating the website, and you get a little bit of idea of like the person behind it. But the reality is this is impacting a lot of people. A lot of people's lives are negatively being impacted. I want to show you this other story. So there's this guy, Brad. Brad had a contract job with the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, so USCIS. His job was literally to advocate for asylum seekers and refugees. So I want to show you this video about what happened to him.
I was just fired from my contracting job with USCIS because I had the audacity to denounce hate, racism, and bigotry. I worked as somebody that advocated for asylum seekers and refugees. That was my job. Because even behind the camera, I'm advocating for people.
So as we see, he got doxxed as well. Now he worked with the government. That's a government contract job, and he got doxxed. It's really starting to, it's not just like people work in the private sector. Now we have someone who had a contract with the USCIS. So why did it happen? Why is doxing happening? Well, there's a very specific point to doxing. There's a very specific reason. Doxing, when people will dox other people to intimidate, harass, silence, and retaliate against them. Doxing is about control, and it's about power. It's about retaliating against people who have dissenting views. It's about silencing and threatening people to not share. It is power. It is control. It's not about just sharing information, reporting somebody for doing something illegal. That's one thing. Doxing is a strategy that is meant to scare people and to silence. And right now, the people that are doing the doxing, they're MAGA conservatives. They are MAGA conservatives, and they've been empowered to do it because they continue to do it. But the problem with this is so many things. Doxing has a lot of, it can actually lead to harassment. So doxing itself may not be illegal, but what comes from it could be. So if someone's information is put out there, their employer's information is put out there, doxing can cause harassment. People calling your employment, showing up at your job. I saw a couple of TikTok videos of people actually showing up to other people's jobs, calling people's jobs. So it leads to harassment. It also can even lead to identity theft because people are looking you up and they're finding your information on the internet. So it can lead to identity theft, financial loss. But the main goal is termination of employment. That's the specific thing that they're trying to achieve, is to get people fired so they lose their livelihood. That's messed up. That's messed up. But it actually gets worse. As if this was not already a problem and a concern. Doxing, getting people fired, is actually now being supported and encouraged by this administration. Vice President J.D. Vance actually went on Charlie Kirk's podcast as a guest host, and he promoted doxing. Watch this video.
Flows from all of us. So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer. We don't believe in political violence, but we do believe in civility. And there was no civility in the celebration of political assassination.
So now it's not just like a quiet MAGA movement. This is the second in command has just announced that it's okay to dox people. He's encouraging it. Now this is having a much bigger impact because now it's, when you think about what's happening now, think about like Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel, his show just got pulled because they didn't like him making fun of President Trump on the way he reacted when he was asked about how he was doing after the death of Charlie Kirk. He changed the subject and moved on to construction. That led to they actually got the Disney and ABC, they got threatened to take it down, to take the show off the air. And I read a couple of times, I heard some different articles that like the executives at Disney and ABC didn't actually think Jimmy Kimmel did anything wrong. They don't think he said anything out of pocket, and especially not anything that would warrant like his show getting pulled. But they capitulated to Trump anyway, and they're pulling the show. Jimmy Kimmel is protected by the First Amendment right. He has the freedom of speech. He is a public figure. He is 100% protected against with the First Amendment to speak out. There's like 7 words he can't say as a comedian, but outside of that, that's it. But he's being silenced. So far in this episode, we saw that young Kim was being silenced. She was doxxed. We saw Brad, who worked with the immigration, silenced, and now a public figure, Jimmy Kimmel, also being silenced. Unless he pays the Kirk family like a bunch of money, then he can have the show back, which that's a whole different episode. That's the problem though, is dissenting voices of differing views are being silenced, and the threat of losing one's livelihood from a psychology perspective, that goes back to our most basic needs. If someone loses their livelihood, that's loss of food, loss of shelter, home, security, and people are going to do whatever they need to do, but it's cruel to take that from someone because they feel differently than you do. And so my goal here is to help you just how to prevent doxing, and then also what to do if you've been doxed. All right, so there are some steps you can take to protect yourself. And I want to give you, I have some more on my website. So if you go to valdetselimaj.com, you'll find it all there. But I want to share with some main tips. First and foremost, one thing to remember, the First Amendment. We have to talk about the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects our right to freedom of speech against the government. So what that means is I can speak out against the government. You can speak out against the government. You can say whatever you want without being arrested or retaliated against. Unfortunately, that same protection doesn't trickle over to our private lives or our social media when it comes to school or employment. In most states that are at least at will, but really your employer can really legally fire you for just about anything. And that can include if they don't like your social media posts or if they feel like it's like not a good representation of the organization, things like that. Now, we'll talk more about that at the end, but that's just something to remember. So my number one advice, right? And I've been working like leadership development and just like professional development for so long. Don't post anything. Don't post it. Even if you feel like it's an innocent statement or you're trying to be helpful or anything you say or do can and will be used against you. Even no matter what you meant, no matter the intention, there are some people who are, their number one priority is to get you fired. And they will do it. Do not post anything. Do not comment on anything. Do not repost. Do not reply. Don't engage with anything regarding Charlie Kirk. Just stay off social media for a while. Don't give them ammo because that's what they're looking for. So that's the number one thing. Just stay away from social media. Now, I know we're still on social media, so check your privacy settings. Make sure you have your stuff locked down. Make it so that only the people you really trust can see it. If you have people that are following you that you don't know, you might want to recheck your settings, your friends, your followers. You don't know who's lurking. Trust me. People try to come at me in my TikTok, and I was like, I don't even know who these people are. So, also they've been trying to get into my phone. I've gotten so many notifications, people trying to change my Instagram password, but you don't know who's on there. You don't know what people believe, and you don't know how they're going to perceive you. So lock down your stuff. If you're going to post, make sure it's only people that you trust. And then also make sure you constantly review your privacy settings for all your platforms, just in case they change, because sometimes they can do that. But make sure you lock down your stuff. Again, I would say just don't post. Don't post, not right now. It has to be about self-preservation right now. I know sometimes you're going to see people's comments and they're infuriating and you just want to like let them have it, or you may have good intentions to think, I just want to give them a different way to look at it. They're not looking for a different way to look at it. They're not looking for open perspectives. They're not looking to none of it. Just stay in your lane and don't worry about them. No one's mind's ever been changed in the comments of social media. You won't be the one that does it. So lock your stuff down, change your passwords, make them so they're like different and complex. Also make sure you use two-factor authentication on anything that you can. So that way you have to use an authenticator app. That helps me a lot. And then also if you have like personal and professional accounts, really make sure they're separate. Make sure your personal stuff doesn't have like your name. Keep your professional stuff out separate. Email addresses should be different. If you merge them, anything that can bring people get an idea of where you work, you want to hide that. Which also be careful what you post. If you post pictures and it's like they can see where you work in the background, some of them might figure out where you work and then get your contact info. Also, don't post any routines. If you go to Starbucks every morning, don't post about it because eventually they'll figure out like where that Starbucks is, then maybe where you work. So these are things you just want to be mindful of. But then also do a Google search on yourself and see what's out there. There's a lot of information that's out there that is wild to me. So Google yourself, see what information's out there, work on getting rid of that stuff. And then also set up Google search for yourself, like your name. You could do contact info, but anything that other people would search, you can do that. That way you get an idea of like who's looking for you or what info they're looking at. And so you're also aware, so you're not blindsided. So those are just a couple of tips. Go to my website for more, valdetselimaj.com. Those are like the main things I just wanted to give you. But also, if you have been doxxed, so let's say someone got your information, it's out there, they contacted your employer, make sure you document everything. If they message you, if they email you, anything that they do, screenshot it, capture any URLs, any websites, capture everything. If they send you an email, you can actually sometimes find out the IP address of the email that they sent you so they can tell you where it's at. Capture everything and then file a police report because you're being doxxed and that is harassment and you want to have it documented somewhere. So you make sure you file a report with the police. But document everything. And then if you do get doxxed and your employer terminates your employment, there may not be a whole lot that you can do, but I highly recommend that you reach out to an employment lawyer. An employment lawyer can help answer some questions and give you some next steps. What I'm about to share is not legal advice because I'm not an attorney, but I do have some experience in HR. And I can also tell you if you file a claim, you can file a claim with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. And again, while your company has the right to terminate you, you can still possibly maybe have some legal standing depending on how they terminated you or why or what the reason was. So talk to an employment lawyer because you do have options, or at least they'll tell you what the reality is. But like overall, just focus on self-preservation right now. There's nothing you're going to say or do about Charlie Kirk that's going to make anyone change their mind or listen. And it's not worth putting on the internet. And I know it's tempting. There are a lot of people who don't have good character. There are a lot of people who are seeking to harm you and others because you feel the way that you feel, which you're totally entitled to your feelings. But right now, self-preservation should be the priority. Because doxing is a very, very serious violation of privacy, and it can lead to some like lasting consequences, including termination of employment. And you don't want that. Not right now. That's what you don't need. So I know sometimes it can be like, but what about that? Let them win the battle. You can win the war. And again, we can't control the actions of others, and people are going to do what they do, but you can certainly control your world. You can be proactive in taking care of yourself, protect your own information, protect the people around you, protect your career, protect your job. You got this. Play it safe. And if there's someone you know that needs to hear this, please send this episode to them. Let them know. And then also let me know what worked, what helped you here today, and what questions do you have about doxing? What more would you like to learn about what it is, why it's happening? And then also check out my website, valdetselimaj.com, and you'll find more info there. I appreciate you being here. I wish you lots of luck. Stay safe, my friends, and I'll see you in the next episode.